There comes a moment in every man's life when the silence becomes deafening. Not the silence around him, but the silence within. The stillness that creeps in when the noise of the world fades, when distractions no longer satisfy, when everything slows down just enough for the truth to whisper, "You are not where you're supposed to be." That moment, that quiet, heavy realization, it's not weakness, it's not failure, it's the beginning. Because to feel lost is not to be broken, it's to be called to more, called to rise, called to level up. This video is for the man who can't quite explain what he's going through, who looks in the mirror and sees someone he used to know, someone who once had fire, hunger, clarity. Now maybe that fire is dim. Maybe you feel like you've fallen behind. Maybe you're tired of pretending you're okay when you're not. This message is for the man who has outgrown the life he's living, but hasn't yet stepped into the one he was born to lead. And if that's you, if you've ever sat in your car late at night questioning your purpose, if you've ever walked into a room full of people and still felt alone, if you've ever thought to yourself, there has to be more than this, then listen carefully. You're not alone, you're not crazy, and you're not finished. You're in a sacred stage of transformation. And I promise you, if you refuse to quit, if you lean in and do the inner work, if you embrace the grind, you will not only find your way, you'll rise stronger than you've ever been. Why this journey matters. Let's get something straight. We live in a world that is very good at numbing men, keeping them distracted, weak, addicted to comfort, disconnected from their power. We're told to chase things that shine, not things that matter. Social media flashes highlight reels while hiding the pain behind the filters. But leveling up isn't about flashy results. It's about internal revolution. It's about killing who you were and becoming who you were meant to be, not for attention, but for impact, not for applause, but for legacy, not to look powerful, but to be powerful, in character, in discipline, in purpose. This message is divided into 4 soul-deep stages. Each one explores a phase of the journey, a season every man must walk through if he wants to evolve, even when he feels lost, tired, or uncertain, especially then. We'll break it all down. We'll explore how your discomfort is actually your compass, how pain can be refined into power, how your habits shape your identity, and how the man you become will be remembered long after you're gone. You'll hear stories of real men, historical giants who walked through hell and came out legends. You'll receive words of encouragement built on ancient Stoic wisdom, from men like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca. You'll be challenged, reminded, uplifted, and above all, equipped. Because in a world that's constantly trying to break men down, this video is about building you up. Whether you're 21 or 51, whether you're broke, divorced, alone, stuck, or just uncertain of what's next, this is for you. And if you're a woman watching this and you love a man who's finding his way, let this video give you insight into the weight he carries and the mountain he's climbing. You are not too far gone. Let me say this plainly. You are not too far behind. You are not too old. You are not too late. You are not too damaged. You are not too soft. You're just at the edge between the old version of you and the next level, the edge between staying numb or waking up, the edge between silence or stepping into your voice. And while that edge is scary, it's also sacred, because once you step forward, you'll never be the same again. The life you want, the clarity, the purpose, the power, it won't be handed to you, but it can be earned through discipline, through self-mastery, through choosing evolution over excuses. We'll show you how. Before we go any deeper, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who needs it, someone who's quietly struggling, silently grinding, or sitting in the dark, wondering if they still have a shot. And drop a comment below right now and tell me, where are you on your journey? Are you lost, grinding, rising, or leading others? I want to know, and this community wants to grow with you. 1. The wake-up call. When comfort becomes a cage. There is a moment in every man's life that doesn't come with an announcement. No dramatic music, no spotlight. It arrives quietly, silently, slowly. You wake up one day and realize you're not really awake at all. You've been living on autopilot, going through the motions, existing, but not living. You feel the dullness creeping in. You know something's off. You may not know what it is yet, but your soul does. It's the moment when comfort starts to feel like a prison. You may still have a roof over your head. You may still laugh at jokes. You might even be in a relationship. But beneath all that, you know you're playing small. You know you've settled. And worst of all, you're starting to forget what it felt like to really want more. That is the wake-up call, the first stage of leveling up. And it's terrifying, but it's also sacred, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that means the journey has begun when the familiar turns into a trap. It doesn't happen all at once. Most men don't fall into mediocrity through failure. They fall into it through comfort. Comfort tells you, just stay where you are. It whispers, you're not ready. It says, you don't need to go all in, just survive. But survival is not living, and soon the things that once felt safe now feel suffocating. You scroll for hours instead of building. You numb yourself with entertainment instead of facing your pain. You chase quick pleasure instead of long-term fulfillment. You stay in relationships that don't challenge you, jobs that don't stretch you, habits that don't serve you, and then one day, it hits you. You've become a man in a cage that you built, made of small compromises, quiet denials, missed chances, chosen comfort, and deep down you know if you don't break out soon, you'll forget how to fly altogether. This is the first sign that it's time to level up. The weight of wasted time. There is a particular pain that comes with wasted potential. It's not the pain of failure. It's deeper than that. It's the pain of knowing you could have been more, should have done more. It's the ache of remembering the dreams you had when you were younger, the fire you had before life dulled it with routine. This pain either becomes your destruction or your fuel. And here's the truth most won't tell you: you don't need more time. You need more courage. Courage to walk away from what no longer serves you. Courage to admit you're meant for more. Courage to stop making excuses for the man you've become and start fighting for the man you could be. You're not too late, but you can't keep waiting. The mirror test, facing the man you've become. Stand in front of the mirror and ask yourself this: would I follow the man looking back at me? Would you trust his word? Would you admire his discipline? Would you want your future son to be like him? That's the mirror test. Not what you wear, not what you drive, not how others see you, but who you are when no one's watching. And here's the hardest part. Most men avoid that mirror because it doesn't lie. It shows your softness, your weakness, your wasted time. But it also shows your power, the potential still buried inside. And if you're willing to look long enough, you'll see something even deeper. You're not done yet when you start feeling everything. Something strange happens when you begin to wake up. You start to feel again. That numbness, it fades, and now you feel the guilt, the regret, the sadness, the anger. You feel how far you've drifted from your purpose. You feel how weak your routines have become. You feel the weight of not showing up the way you know you could have. But that's good, because pain is not the enemy. Numbness is. Pain tells you something's wrong. Pain is a messenger, and if you listen, you'll hear what it's been trying to say all along. This life is beneath you. You're built for more. Get up. The wisdom of the Stoics, change, begins. Inside, the ancient Stoics believed that all lasting change begins within. Epictetus, born a slave, became one of the greatest philosophers of all time. He taught that while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we can always control how we respond. Your emotions may feel chaotic right now. Your path may feel unclear. But Stoicism reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. This is where leveling up starts, not in the gym, not in the bank account, not in the applause, but in the mind, in the choice to stop blaming, stop numbing, stop avoiding, and start rebuilding. One quiet decision at a time. The courage to walk alone. One of the first costs of leveling up is isolation. The people around you may not understand your transformation. They're used to the old you, the agreeable one, the passive one, the predictable one. But leveling up means you outgrow the roles others assigned you. That will make some people uncomfortable. Let them be uncomfortable. You weren't born to fit in, but you were born to lead, like Frederick Douglass, who escaped slavery and then spent his life becoming a voice of fire and truth. He walked alone, he spoke alone, but he stood for something greater than himself. If you want to rise, you must be willing to walk through loneliness. But that loneliness, it's only temporary. It's clearing space for the right people, the right habits, the right path to enter. The decision that changes everything. There comes a point when you're sick of your own excuses, sick of starting and stopping, sick of hiding your potential behind distractions, sick of living beneath your design. That's the moment of decision. Not the kind you post about, not the kind you tell everyone, but the quiet internal decision that says, enough. Enough wasting time, enough blaming others, enough being soft with yourself. That one decision to rise, to rebuild, to go again, is the seed of everything that will follow. The power of seeing the truth. If you're here, you've already taken the first step most people will never take. You've looked at yourself honestly, you've admitted something's wrong, you've faced the mirror, and now you have the power to change everything. This is the wake-up call. And once you answer it, your life will never be the same again. What truth have you been avoiding that you now need to confront? Comment below. What's one thing in your life you know it's time to leave behind? 2. The grind. Rebuilding yourself from the ground up. This is the part they don't glamorize. No flashy quotes, no cinematic highlight reel, just you and the work. You and the early mornings. You and the sore body. You and the frustration of starting over at you again. This is the grind. It's where most men give up, because this chapter isn't sexy, it's not loud, it's not instantly rewarding, it's slow, silent, gritty, but it's where real men are built. The grind is the furnace of transformation. It's where your excuses get burned away. It's where your weakness gets exposed and then reshaped. It's where your confidence is no longer based on hype or compliments, but on earned self-respect. When you strip away the comfort and the distractions, you're left with a simple question. Can you show up anyway? Not when it's easy, not when it's convenient, but when no one's watching and no one's clapping, and it's just you and the repetition. Because that's how greatness is forged, in repetition. You don't just wake up confident. You earn confidence by doing hard things daily. You don't just become disciplined by reading quotes. You build discipline by showing up on the days you feel nothing. Men like Marcus Aurelius didn't become wise through comfort. They ruled empires by learning how to master themselves first. He wrote his most powerful Stoic truths not from a throne, but in solitude while wrestling with his own weaknesses, doubts, and suffering. The grind is the classroom of kings, and it demands everything from you. You'll have to let go of who you were. You'll have to face your past, not to be ashamed, but to understand what broke you. You'll have to revisit old wounds and ask yourself, what story am I still telling myself about this pain? Because behind every self-sabotaging habit is a story, one you may have never questioned. Maybe it's the voice of a father who never said you were enough. Maybe it's the fear of failing again. Maybe it's the belief that you don't deserve a better life. But here's the truth. You are not your past. You're not your pain. You're not your failures. You're the architect of who you become next. And every small choice matters now. Every early wake-up, every rep in the gym, every time you resist the urge to numb yourself, you're rewiring your brain, reshaping your identity, and reclaiming your power. This is the war within. It's the battle to stay focused in a world addicted to distraction. It's the struggle to build when everyone else is consuming. It's the fight to stay consistent when motivation is gone and all you have left is discipline. And that's what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. The willingness to build in silence. Not every day will be glorious. Some days progress will feel invisible, but those are the most sacred days, the ones where your character is quietly forming in the background. That's where the real work happens. In the dark, in the silence. When it's just you and the decision, will I keep going? Look at the greats. Look at Frederick Douglass, a man who escaped slavery, taught himself to read in secret, and then became a thunderous voice for justice. He didn't wait for the perfect conditions. He created them with grit, with grind, with an unbreakable will. And you too are called to grind, not to impress, not to compete, but to become. Become the man who follows through. Become the man who doesn't fold when it gets hard. Become the man whose identity is built not on external success, but on internal mastery. That's the power of the grind. It humbles you, it breaks you, and then it rebuilds you into something unshakable. You'll start to notice things change. Your posture, your energy, your presence. You'll walk into a room and people won't know what's different, but they'll feel it. Not because you're loud, but because you're centered, because you've spent time in the fire, because you've learned to govern yourself. That's real strength. That's what separates noise from power. And here's what no one tells you. The grind never really ends. You don't graduate from this. You just become more capable, more resilient, more dangerous, in the best way, because once you've learned how to build yourself from the ground up, nothing can destroy you again. You've become your own foundation, and you'll carry that strength into everything, your relationships, your work, your leadership, your legacy. So don't fear the grind. Embrace it, celebrate it, let it do its holy work on you, because every man who's ever left a mark on this world once stood exactly where you're standing, tired, questioning, uncertain, but he made a decision to keep going, and that made all the difference. What habit, behavior, or mindset must you destroy if you want to become unshakable? Comment below, what's the one grind you're committed to embracing, even when no one's watching? 3. The ascent. Turning pain into power. There comes a point in every man's journey when the pain doesn't break him anymore. It builds him. It's not that the pain disappears. It's that he learns how to carry it differently. It becomes less of a burden and more of a weapon. Not the kind that wounds others, but the kind that sharpens the soul. This is the ascent. It's the climb out of darkness, not because life has suddenly gotten easier, but because you've gotten stronger. You've stopped seeing pain as the enemy. You've started to realize that inside every hardship is an invitation, an opportunity to become unshakable. That's where real transformation lives. Not in avoiding pain, but in using it. The world tells you to hide your pain, to numb it, to run from it. But the greats, and the real warriors of history, didn't run from their suffering. They transformed it. Take Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor who lost his entire family in the concentration camps. He suffered the unimaginable. But out of that pain, he created one of the most powerful philosophies in modern history, logotherapy. He said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That's the essence of this chapter. You stop waiting for life to get easier, and you rise to meet it as you are, forged, tested, and transformed. At this point in your journey, you begin to walk differently, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Your silence becomes powerful. Your presence starts speaking louder than your words, and your pain becomes wisdom. You no longer try to escape difficulty, you lean into it, because you've learned what difficulty does. It reveals what's real. It burns away the false self. It teaches you who you are when no one is clapping, when everything is at stake, when you're alone in the fire. And what you find deep in that fire is a version of yourself you never knew existed. A man who can endure, a man who can still lead when he's bleeding, a man who doesn't fold under pressure. He focuses. The climb up from rock bottom is not about perfection. It's about presence. Showing up, bruised and scarred, but still here. Still standing, still choosing discipline over comfort. Still speaking truth when it would be easier to stay silent. And with every step forward, something begins to shift inside you. The things that used to break you don't anymore. The emotions that used to drown you now guide you. The rejection, the betrayal, the failure, you don't see them as endings anymore. You see them as refiners. You're no longer just surviving your story, you're rewriting it. That's when you start to understand something that changes everything. Your pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal you. The man beneath the masks, the man beneath the noise, the man capable of standing tall with scars and saying, "This is who I am now." And when you begin living from that place, you become different. You become dangerous, not in the way the world fears, but in the way it respects. You carry the weight of your past like armor, not shame. You speak calmly in chaos because you've already seen the storm and learned how to weather it. You stop trying to impress and start trying to impact. And impact comes from alignment. When your words, your actions, your values, and your habits all move in the same direction, upward. That's the climb. Every step is hard, but every step is holy because you're not just moving forward, you're becoming. You become the man who doesn't need external permission to lead. You become the man who commands a room without raising his voice. You become the man who can sit with a woman in her chaos and not get swallowed by it. You become the man who speaks life into others because you've spoken life into yourself in your darkest hour. This is the beginning of emotional mastery, where feelings are not suppressed, but channeled, where you feel everything, but you're ruled by nothing. You become the mountain in the storm, still, present, unshakable. And the people around you will notice. Some will be drawn to your energy. Others will feel intimidated by your evolution. Let them. You didn't climb this far to shrink for people still living at the bottom. You're not arrogant, you're anchored. There's a difference, because the higher you climb, the less noise you need. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need applause. Your life speaks for itself. You've become the kind of man who brings peace into the room because you've made peace with yourself. The climb doesn't get easier, but you get more capable. You learn to love the silence. You learn to hear your inner voice again. You learn to guide others, not with dominance, but with depth. And as you continue to rise, you'll notice the view changes. You'll begin to see how far you've come. You'll remember the version of you that almost gave up. And you'll thank him for holding the line, because now you're not just climbing for you. You're climbing for everyone watching you. Everyone who needed someone like you to remind them that it's possible. That even from the lowest place, a man can rise again. What pain in your life are you ready to turn into power? Comment below. What lesson has life tried to teach you that you now see as a gift? 4. The legacy, becoming the man the world needs. This is the final phase of the journey, not the end, but the beginning of something bigger than you. You've walked through the chaos, you've faced the darkness, you've rebuilt yourself from the ground up, you've climbed the mountain. Now comes the real test. Not how high you can go, but what you'll do with who you've become. Because this stage is about legacy. Not money, not status, not applause. Legacy is about impact. It's what echoes when you're no longer in the room. It's what remains long after your name is forgotten. The greatest men in history didn't just survive. They served. They didn't just accumulate. They gave. They didn't live for comfort. They lived for a cause. Look at Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, who ruled not for power, but for virtue. He journaled daily about death, service, humility, and the fleeting nature of life, not for fame, but to keep himself grounded in truth. Look at Harriet Tubman, who escaped slavery and risked her life again and again to lead others to freedom. Her legacy wasn't comfort, it was courage. Legacy is built when your life becomes a light for someone else's darkness. When your scars become someone else's map. When your strength becomes someone else's shelter. That's what this stage is all about, becoming a man who multiplies value. You're no longer just trying to survive. You're building, you're leading, you're fathering, not just children, but ideas, teams, missions, families, communities. You've stopped asking, what can I get? And started asking, well, what can I give? Because when you've truly leveled up, you understand something deeper. Power isn't about control, it's about responsibility. It's about being the man who creates structure where there was chaos. Being the man who teaches others how to stand because he's already walked through hell. Being the man who doesn't just chase purpose, he embodies it. You become a pillar, the one others lean on. You become a mirror, the one who helps people see who they truly are. You become a compass, the one who helps others find their way when they feel lost. And it's not about perfection. It never was. It's about presence. Being present with your values, present with your vision, present with the people you're here to serve. This is your sacred responsibility now, to live so well that your presence outlives your time, to speak so truthfully that your words awaken someone else's strength, to walk with such conviction that your children and their children rise because you did. And legacy doesn't begin after you're gone, it begins now, in how you love, in how you lead, in how you respond to pressure, in how you choose integrity. Even when no one will ever know, when you level up for real, you stop trying to escape responsibility and you start to carry it with honor. You become the man your younger self needed, the man your future children will look up to, the man who leaves a trail of strength behind him so others can follow. And here's the secret no one tells you. You don't need to be perfect to have a legacy. You just need to live with intention. When you rise with purpose, when you give more than you take, when you live by your values, that's legacy, that's impact. That's what separates temporary success from eternal significance. You've leveled up, not because life got easier, but because you got wiser. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you gave yourself purpose. Not because you felt ready,
but because you chose to rise anyway. And now it's your time to lead, to build something that lasts, to leave the world stronger than you found it, to be the man the world needs, even if no one ever thanks you for it. That's greatness. That's masculinity with depth. That's what the modern world is starving for. So don't stop here. Keep building, keep leading, keep rising, not just for you, but for everyone who's watching you rise. Because whether you realize it or not, someone out there is still in chapter 1, looking for a reason to keep going. Let your life be the reason. What do you want the world to remember about your life? And are you living that message right now? Comment below. What kind of legacy are you committed to leaving behind? If you found this video powerful, encouraging, or valuable, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who needs this message, and comment below your thoughts. Your words might be the encouragement someone else desperately needs right now. Until next time, keep rising, keep leveling up, and never forget, even if you feel lost, you still have the power to become unstoppable.